Here's the brief news from the world over this week. President Donald Trump delivered two very different speeches during a primetime address to the nation on Monday. Trump adopted a sober, aspirational tone as he vowed to keep American troops fighting in Afghanistan. He vowed to fight to win, reversing his past calls to withdraw from the 16-year-old war. He said the U.S. is not about nation building, but rather killing terrorists.
From now on, victory will have a clear definition: attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, and stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge.
Trump was vague on details of the new strategy, other than saying it would be result-based. The Pentagon has recommended sending nearly 4,000 new troops to Afghanistan, supplementing the 8,000-plus troops already there. On the home front, in an allusion to Charlottesville, Trump urged unity, insisting that Americans cannot remain a force for peace in the world if they are not at peace with each other. And in a freewheeling stem-winder of a rally in Phoenix, the president said he leads a movement based on love. He went on to promise to build a wall along the southern border and called out uncooperative Republicans who did not support his health care overhaul. He also hit the media hard.
It's a very dishonest media, those people right up there with all the cameras. And I mean truly dishonest people in the media and the fake media. They make up stories. They have no sources in many cases. They say a source says there is no such thing, but they don't report the facts. Just like they don't want to report that I spoke out forcefully against hatred, bigotry, and violence, and strongly condemned the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, and the KKK.
Meanwhile, Pope Francis is deepening his advocacy for migrant rights. In comments released ahead of the Church's World Day of Migrants and Refugees for 2018, the Pope urged specific government policies to welcome and integrate migrants. He argues that the dignity of refugees and their right to protection outweigh national security concerns. Francis further rejected what he called the collective and arbitrary expulsions of migrants and refugees. He called for policies that support family reunification and the granting of citizenship to unaccompanied minors. And the Moroccan terrorists allegedly responsible for the vehicle attack in Barcelona, Spain last week, responsible for killing 14, originally had a very different plan. They intended to target the city's Sagrada Familia Basilica. According to Spanish media, the world-famous church was chosen for its religious symbolism, as well as its busy flow of tourists. The plan was thwarted when the terrorists' bomb-making facility burst into flames. Authorities believe the terror cell had 12 members and had planned to drive 3 explosive-packed vans into a number of tourist hotspots. 5 cell members were fatally shot by police, 4 were arrested, and 3, including the driver in the Barcelona attack, remain at large. After the sentencing of pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong, Cardinal Joseph Zen, the Bishop Emeritus of the diocese, warns that Hong Kong is sinking. At least 50,000 people marched through Hong Kong on Sunday in support of 3 activists who were sentenced to prison for their roles in the massive umbrella movement of 2014. Alex Chow, Joshua Wong, and Nathan Law, former student leaders of the movement, were given jail terms for unlawful assembly. It was the latest blow to the one country, two systems promised by Beijing. Cardinal Zen was actively involved in the 79-day umbrella movement and surrendered himself to police in 2014. In his recent blog entry, Zen writes, "If he is to be arrested when he returns to Hong Kong, it would be his honor to accompany my brothers and sisters in prison." A statement signed by 25 foreign dignitaries, ambassadors, and religious leaders criticized the decisions of the court as an outrageous miscarriage of justice and a death knell for Hong Kong's rule of basic law and human rights. As the civil war in South Sudan continues to escalate, 10,000 people fleeing the violence have taken refuge in and around the country's largest church. St. Mary's Cathedral in Wau is less than 20 miles from the battlefront between the government and the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. Well-protected UN camps near Wau and across the country are already overwhelmed with more than 200,000 refugees. People are coming to the cathedral even though it is protected by a guard and a gate. A priest there said many believe that the rebels still fear God and would not slaughter civilians in the backyard of a church. Church officials said that food supplies are running dangerously low as the UN's World Food Program has not distributed food there in more than 4 months. South Sudan has been in the middle of a brutal civil war since December of 2013. By some estimates, as many as 300,000 people have been killed during the conflict. And there is now little mystery as to what the controversial Chapter 8 of Amoris Laetitia, the papal teaching document on family and marriage, intends. Papal advisor and ghostwriter of the document, Archbishop Victor Manuel Fernandez, told a Latin theological journal this week that the Pope's encyclical was opening the door, in some cases, to communion for divorced and remarried couples without an annulment. In a seemingly coordinated move, a leaked letter from Pope Francis to Argentinian bishops saluting their implementation of his encyclical has been posted on the Vatican website. There the Pope says, quote, "There are no other interpretations to Amoris Laetitia." The bishops embrace the idea of communion for those in a second marriage sans annulments. Meanwhile, the former prefect of the Apostolic Signatura, Cardinal Raymond Burke, has said that the clarification of church teaching on divorce, remarriage, and communion is now necessary. He outlined what a formal correction of the Holy Father's teaching might look like. In a recent interview with The Wanderer, Burke said the confusion generated by Amoris Laetitia is tearing the church asunder and creating division. Cardinal Burke did not give a time frame for the correction of the Pope's exhortation, but he did say it was an urgent matter. Cardinal Burke said a formal correction of a pope has not been invoked for several centuries and has never been used in a doctrinal way. And Northern Ireland's High Court has dismissed the argument that European law requires legal recognition of same-sex marriage. The court rejected the assertion that the recognition of same-sex unions is a fundamental human right. Instead, it said that it's a matter for legislatures to decide. On that front, in 2015, the Northern Ireland Assembly voted by the slimmest of margins to recognize same-sex marriage. However, the Democratic Unionist Party, traditionally aligned with Protestants, vetoed the measure under the terms of the government's power-sharing agreement. And a Louisiana judge will let stand a lawsuit dealing with a priest's refusal to break the seal of confession. Plaintiffs have sued Father Jeff Bahi and the Diocese of Baton Rouge, claiming that the priest should have told police about a case of sexual abuse that he allegedly heard during a confession. Father Bahi cited the sanctity of the confessional, saying he cannot be required to disclose what was heard. The case was brought before the Louisiana Supreme Court last year, which upheld the seal of the Catholic confessional. However, plaintiffs' lawyers now argue that the information about the abuse was not conveyed during a sacramental confession. In the August 21st ruling, the Louisiana judge said a jury may be asked to determine whether the confession was truly sacramental or whether it was a conversational appeal for help.